Now we want to take a closer look at the train derailment and the question of liability. Let's bring in our legal analyst, Jami Floyd. Hi, Jami.
Hey, John.
So what is the, and this is a big if the engineer nodded off, as we heard from union officials, then what is the legal liability there?
Well, we have two kinds of liability. There's criminal liability and civil liability. And as you say, it is a big if. We've already heard different phrases being thrown around. He lost focus. He went into a daze, highway hypnosis, and the phrase attributed to the engineer himself, white line fever. All of those can mean different things, even in terms of the kind of liability. If there's some sort of recklessness or criminal intent, well, then we might be talking about a criminal prosecution. We saw that in the Staten Island ferry case back in 2003, where the pilot, that's the phrase we use for a ferry driver, was indeed prosecuted. 11 people died there and scores others injured, and he served 18 months in prison. There he had taken painkillers. Here we have no indication of anything of that sort, and I think many weeks and months of investigation, and thus far no indication of any sort of even reckless negligence, which is what was indicated there, a potential manslaughter claim. Here we may have something that is much more reducible to civil liability, which is negligence, and that is more likely in cases like this.
Let me try this one on you then. So if he wasn't under the influence of anything and he didn't do anything wrong and he might have nodded off accidentally, whose responsibility is it? And will suddenly the law look at the MTA and whether or not he had the right support, whether or not he got enough rest, what their rules and regulations are?
Well, the law is already, John, looking at the MTA because lawsuits have already been filed. At least one lawsuit has been filed today by one injured woman, a dentist who was on her way to a convention at the Javits Center. And indeed, the engineer will, as a matter of form, be named in that lawsuit, but the focus of the lawsuit is Metro North and the MTA. So ultimately, John, when injuries happen, there is an effort to attribute fault, and you're exactly right. Sometimes terrible accidents happen, and the question is, who is to blame? Who is at fault? Even if there's no criminal, what we call criminal negligence or recklessness, criminal intent, if a terrible accident happens and he just dozes off at the wheel and millions, we're talking perhaps as many as $500 million of injuries are done to all of these people, someone has to compensate
And
them.
so the question is whether or not the MTA made those trains safe enough?
Well, the question is whether or not the trains are safe enough, the rails are safe enough, the regulations are adequate, and even if the answer to all of those questions is yes, some compensation may still be paid out in a settlement simply to adequately address pain and suffering for the victims.
Jami, good to see you tonight. Thanks very much.
Good to see you.